Today we're going to be talking a little bit about how to start drawing your letters and shapes for your project so that you can really make them look three-dimensional and like they pop out. This is a one-point perspective drawing. It's because everything meets at one point, and I'm going to show you step by step how to accomplish this type of drawing. So you're going to practice this in your sketchbook first, and your goal is going to be to draw 5 to 10 shapes, and you are going to do it on either a piece of drawing paper or your sketchbook paper. You're going to need a pencil, either a protractor, a ruler, and then I would recommend having something circular shaped. I have a circle tracer, which is just a stencil, but you could always use something like a cup or a lid to something from your kitchen. So I'm going to be writing down some vocab terms as we do this too. You may want to take notes in your sketchbook just so that you know. This is review though from the presentation that you guys are going to watch. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line it up on my paper like so. And this line is very important, the one that's going across our page. This is called our horizon line. And the horizon line is important because it's basically the line where all of our shapes can extend off of or out of, and our vanishing point, which is the dot on our page, is going to go right in the middle of this. A vanishing point can go pretty much anywhere on this line. For the sake of this project, I'm going to put my vanishing point right in the middle of my paper. And my vanishing point is something that I also call my VP, so I abbreviate it. Same with my horizon line, I usually write HL. Going back to the horizon line, the other reason that this is called a horizon line is if I decided that I wanted to draw, let's say, a road, and I wanted to have it look like it was going back into space. You don't have to do this on your drawing, but I'm going to basically draw 2 lines that extend out, and this would be my road, okay? If I was looking straight into like the sunset out here, the line that separates the sky from the land is called the horizon. So that's the other reason why we get this term horizon line. All right, so for the sake of this project, I'm going to erase these marks. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw a series of shapes, okay, around this point. So I'm gonna use my circle tracer and I'm gonna create some circular shapes. I would also try to include some other shapes that have rounded edges, so maybe something like a heart might be good. I could do something like a semicircle or a moon. I'm gonna put a half circle down here. And then I can use the edge of my stencil to draw a straight line. All right, and then I'm also gonna include some shapes that are more angled and straight with my measurements. So I'm gonna include something like a triangle. And you'll notice that as I'm doing this, I'm not only just using my measurement tool, right? I'm making everything look really straight, really neat. I'm not just free drawing it because that's gonna make it look a lot better. But I'm also drawing my shapes a little bit closer and further away from the vanishing point. I'm gonna also recommend that you add some shapes that are bigger, just so that it fills up the space of your page. Sometimes when I have students do this project, they end up drawing their shapes really, really tiny, and it makes it very difficult to draw their measurements. So at this point, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna add another shape on this side of my page, and I think for that one, I am going to draw a diamond. I'm gonna draw it on an angle. Perfect, or a rhombus. So I've drawn all of my shapes around my vanishing point, almost like if this was a clock and all the way around the clock are the numbers. That's kind of the way I've drawn the shapes. Some should be closer, some should be further away, and try to include a variety of sizes, okay? So now what I need to do is I need to connect these shapes to my vanishing point. And I'm gonna be doing that using lines that are called orthogonal lines, okay? So I'm gonna write that down here. And to do this, you're definitely going to want to use a ruler or a straight edge, because if you try to guesstimate or try to guess, you're gonna end up with these really wavy, wonky lines that don't look good. I always start with my shapes that are closest to the vanishing point. So the first one that I'm gonna do is my triangle. And really what I wanna do is I wanna make sure that all of my shapes, all of the corners, are touching the vanishing point, okay? So if you look at this, you can kind of see, and this is what I usually tell my students, you're gonna get a gut feeling. When you start doing this and connecting your lines, you're gonna look at some shapes. If you've messed up, you're gonna be able to tell pretty quickly. So what I would do is just try to connect certain corners or certain points. My next shape that is close is this half moon, half circle. So I'm gonna take my ruler and I'm gonna draw a line here. And if I stopped at this point, I would probably look at this and say, something looks a little off here. So I would definitely want to connect this point as well to make it look like a solid shape. So I'm going to do that. And if you notice, I'm always connecting, I'm always turning my straight edge so that it's touching the vanishing point whenever I'm connecting a shape. All right, so now we've gotten to a shape that's different from these because it's not a point that I'm connecting to, it's a curved edge. So what I tell my students is that you want to literally kiss the edge of that shape. I'm gonna take my straight edge, and what I'm gonna do is I'm lining it up first at my vanishing point, and then I'm just tilting it so that it just barely touches, if you can see, barely touches the edge of that circle. And I can tell from just looking at this that I need to adjust this and add another line on the other side. So I'm gonna do the same thing, get my vanishing point lined up and then kiss the edge, okay? So now I'm ready to start connecting my top shapes. I like doing ones that are closest to the vanishing point so that there's no overlapping. I'm gonna start with my heart, and I can tell that right now I've gotta connect here. And it's a rounded shape, just like my circle was, which means that I'm going to have to kiss the edge. So I'm gonna line up my straight edge, just kiss the edge of that heart, and then believe it or not, you might even have just the tiniest, I can even free draw this part. If my heart had been a little bit more narrow, just like that, I probably would have a little line right here too. And what that does is make the heart look even more three-dimensional, okay? So now I've got to work on my rectangle. The problem with my rectangle though is, it looks like it's gonna run into my heart. So I need to line up my straight edge with the corner, and I'm going to draw my line, and it looks like it just barely missed it, but if it was gonna go into my heart, I would just stop that line right here. So I'll show you guys with another shape. If I was gonna do another circle out here. So if I was going to draw my orthogonal lines connecting, I would stop, I would not go through the heart, and then I would stop, don't go through the heart. And you see how that makes it now look like it's overlapped? So I still need to add some lines to my rectangle. I'm gonna add one here. And if my rectangle was moved over a little bit, I would probably, and you could even add it here, have just the tiniest little line connecting to the top left corner to make it look like it has another side. So now I'm onto a circle, which means I've got to kiss the edge. And last but not least, I've got my diamond, my rhombus. So I'm gonna take my straight edge, and I know for a fact that I've definitely got to connect here. And looking at this, it looks like I've probably also got to connect to this bottom shape, okay? If you were gonna add a more complex shape, like something like a block letter or an object. I'm gonna draw a star. And you can see that I've drawn my star on the horizon line itself. That's perfectly fine. This is a more complicated shape because it's got more corners, it's got more edges, but I definitely encourage you guys to try this kind of shape because it looks really cool once it's done. So I'm gonna connect my vanishing point with an orthogonal line to this corner. I've already kind of got one connecting to here because of my horizon line. I'm gonna connect another one to the top of the star. And then looking at this, to make it look even more 3D, it looks like I would probably need to connect one here as well, just to make it look like it actually has kind of this 3D shape. And you can see I'm not going through the star, I'm just stopping here. So you can continue to practice and add as many shapes as you want. You can overlap your shapes, I definitely recommend that, and having them go all the way around your paper. That includes on the horizon line as well. So just keep in mind that we've got our VP, our vanishing point, our horizon line goes across the page, and our orthogonal lines are the ones that connect all of our shapes to the vanishing point.